Lawnmowers. Do we like them? I don't know. But since AI is already taking people's jobs, let's unemploy some more people. Whoa, I'm joking. It really fucking sucks right now. You can either do one of two things. You can either spend a shit ton of money and buy a small robotic mower that you can only cut on level land in small areas, or you just don't. Kidding. Or you could be like me or 40-year-old guys with a bunch of time on their hands and just do it yourself. And when I mean guys in their 40s, I mean these videos. And there's practically enough to make a tutorial, except nobody's made a tutorial for this. So when I say I'm on my own, I'm on my own. So let me explain the basics of these projects. So with a tow behind, it's pretty self-explanatory. You tow it behind a mower to mow. And the reason why we're not using a mower instead of the tow behind is because if I touched my dad's mower, he'd probably kill me. And the tow behind is just fair game. And since we aren't towing it anymore, we can take the tow bar off. Which brings me into my next point. How are we going to get this to move? And to be driving the deck, I'll be using 2 wheelchair motors I stole from an old disabled lady. These motors will sit in the back in replacement of the free spinning wheels. But moving isn't the only problem. We also have to make sure it autonomously goes to where we tell it to. And if that all works out, we get a fully autonomous mower for close to nothing. But no matter what, the first thing we got to start with is the drivetrain. So the very first thing we had to do, we had to take off the old wheels. They were just sitting on a single bolt, and they had a nut on the other side, so they were just free spinning wheels, because this was a tow behind mower. So in order to get the new motors mounted, we have to get creative with how we're going to mount these. So I cut on the laser cutter out a template of the motor, and that's supposed to sit right behind here on the wheel. The plan is to cut it out of steel and then weld it to the frame. And then we could bolt the wheelchair motors straight to it. Literally nothing. That's not cutting, so shit. Here comes the cat. Well, I'm not able to make those motor plates myself, so I'll probably have to outsource for those. But in the meantime, I can still work on the electronics. Alright, well I'm hoping these Spark Maxes are enough to control those wheelchair motors. I did order this dual channel beefy motor controller. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, no, I'm kind of stupid and I sent that new motor controller to the wrong address. So we'll probably, for now at least, we'll have to make these Spark Maxes work. So we're kind of stuck with them. Now I'm finally testing telemetry. Alright, so I guess the main goal is to see if that actually works now. Let's point this, let's point it northish, and we'll see what that does. And oh boy, do we have a signal now. Holy shit. I mean, that's where it is. Damn, okay, that works, sweet. Well, I guess since that's working, I guess it's time to get these motors wired up. So the original way these motors worked is they had 2 batteries, and I'm guessing they were paired in parallel and not in series. And I'm hoping that I can just get away with 1 battery so I don't have to slap a second one on there. And 1 battery is sufficient enough to drive this whole thing. So I got this big Anderson connector on there. That way we can easily interface and just plug this in, and then we get power. The plan is the motor is right here, and it uses this keyed, and then the idea is it just kind of holds it there. In order for the electronics to get a good communication with GPS, we got to get this as far away from the frame as possible. For the housing of this project, I'm literally just taking a drill box because it cannot be metal, it has to be fully plastic so we get good communication. I literally just drilled a hole for the telemetry, cut a hole for the wires, and mounted the Pixhawk and the GPS. And that should just work for a good electronics box. Currently, I just have these Spark Maxes in brushless mode, so I don't have to worry about their third white wire. And they're being driven over PWM, and they get power in through these XT60 connectors. I need to make sure that I can keep them away from any sort of GPS or compass I have in here, so they're probably going to live over here in this far corner. That way I can easily route them out through the bottom through this hole. But that all goes well, that should work. On top of that, everything's mounted onto a single pole so that we can easily just mount it far away from the tow behind. I already have the box mounted to the pole, and I was just going to use a hose clamp, but since this whole thing is reliant over compass and GPS, if this thing turns just the slightest, we get our bearings off so much. So what I plan to do is I drilled into the frame, and I need to get these bottom pole mounted, so I will have to drill into that. So I guess let's do that. Damn, look at that. That is one sturdy pole. If your mom came over, she might dance on it. I mean, that is on there. Now that we got our box mounted, it's time to run some wires. So my plan is to, like I said, run everything off of the main tow behind battery and run everything up to this box. But I think it's coming out pretty good. And if sending the motor controller to the wrong address was bad, I also sent the wire to the wrong address. So I am going to be using this trailer light that I just have access to. In order not to confuse myself, I am putting heat shrink on the end just so that we know positive is positive and negative is negative, and we don't have one big spark. Also, while soldering these cables, I noticed they have ground as white and brown as taillights. I've never wired a trailer before, but that seems confusing as hell. Boom, we have our two motor wires right there. Sweet. So these are the two positions of the motors they'll be sitting in. So I gotta make sure this guy is long enough to reach both of them. We'll call that good enough. While I would like to put everything in one video, we are still waiting on stuff to arrive. But if you like this content, feel free to like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments, what should I name this rover? And once again, thank you for watching.